being involved in the organization.
To add to that too, I think knowing your business, knowing what your position is, knowing is definitely very important and very key. In addition to that, it's personality, your attitude. I think, you know, walking into every single day knowing, having a smile on your face and be willing to help and contribute. And I mean, it's very important for that too.
By the way, before I answer the question of what we look for in our employees, I think a lot of or everybody here may be thinking, well, these are great things to do and learn if I had a job. So, but I'm looking for a job. So it's kind of like that, you know. But let me tell you this, what you're hearing today are things that interviewers are listening for when they're interviewing with you. So what you should be able to take with you from today is to say, can I show how I worked on special projects? Can I show how I did some engagement and networking with my teachers, or was able to answer my team's questions? Can I show how I was able to communicate some, you know, take a large project and do a one-page summary? And so just a thought here is, these are, you may not actually have the skills in a work environment, but you do have them in your school, your life. You absolutely do. Just find those examples. My favorite example one time was an intern who only worked at McDonald's. And this intern actually became a mentee. He was, before he became an intern. And he was very, you know, very humble and saying, well, I only work at McDonald's, I don't have any experience yet or anything. I'm like, wait a minute. Were you in charge of timesheets? Were you in charge of customer service at the front end? Did you reconcile the cash register? Were you in charge of the French fry maker with 2 employees and making sure you had product coming out? Yeah. So you have these experiences. We look for employees who ask really good questions. And I cannot tell you how many qualified people I've gotten with qualified resumes, but who asked or didn't even ask questions. And as Gigi was saying, you have to want to be there. One of the things we always say when we meet, you know, after interviews, we say, who really wants this job? Rarely do we say, who's the most technical at MIP implementation, and who's, you know, who really wants this job? Who's going to come here at 9 o'clock on Monday morning and be happy? So your energy level has to speak of that. And we'll tell you later about how to answer that question, why you want to work here. Because it's an easy trap, because a lot of people say, I want to really work here. They'll say, really, why?
Because you're paying me, because I did a job. Yeah, you got to have that energy. Energy is important. Before a candidate goes into an interview, we'll prep them, and you know, we'll just get them fired up before, you know, come in there and ask good questions. And even if we meet them initially and they kind of sit there in the chair and they're slouched and no energy, no life, but how is anybody ever going to want to bring you back for a second? Even let alone extend you an offer to come work for their organization if this is what they're seeing initially. So I think it's very important to have that enthusiasm and that eagerness, not willingness, but that eagerness to go to the interview and to do well. Because when you come into work every day, it's not willingness. There's a difference between willingness and eagerness. You're willing to go because you'll get fired if you don't, but you should be eager to go because you want to go work for the company. So that's the difference, and that goes to being valued.
But that's a real cultural issue in the U.S. And with our foreign employees, and I see a lot of foreign students here. And there's in many cultures, it's very important to maintain a certain respect and humility level. I would suggest that you can do that, but you also have to really show you want to work here. Show up and smile, and you know. So I would say it's very important culturally to adjust to that.
Good point.
By the way, I want to add one more thing before maybe pass it up to you guys. I think we also like to hear about people who have had failures in their lives. We ask that question, tell me about a moment when you failed, or tell me about a moment when your boss or somebody you were close to rejected your offer of a business proposal or idea or something, or you were working on a project and it bombed. And we, you know, you can look at all of us can look at our personal lives, and talk about periods when we didn't do so good. So that, I think, is something to bring to the interview in the right manner. The interviewers sometimes don't know how to interview. And so that's part of the challenge, and you have to help them interview you better. Right? I don't know.
The listeners, absolutely. We have to coach our
I
clients.
think April
Yes.
does a better good job of, she's always telling me stories.
Yes.
Coaching.
Yes,
So have an example in your back of your mind of something you failed at and how you recovered.
You'd be surprised how many times the person interviewing you is just as nervous or more nervous than you are. It's not their day-to-day job. That's not what they're there for. They're there to fill the spot, but they want to make sure that you're a fit for them too. So to his point, absolutely, definitely make sure you have examples and you can guide them through in a smooth way.
For me, from a different perspective, from a small business perspective, I'm going to say that a lot of what I would relate could be quite different from what you've heard already. For me, when I'm interviewing, I look for quite a bit of different aspects, but one thing that will be in connection with everything that you've heard so far is most of the people who are listening to what you're saying or asking questions, it's not their first rodeo. They've heard it and they've seen it. Honesty is one of the biggest things I'm looking for. And if I can sniff it out right away, if it goes downhill from there, it's more or less, you're my entertainment for the next one.
Oh, yeah. I'll be toyed with.
I won't sugarcoat what I say to you guys today. It flat out at a certain point, and I communicated this to Paul earlier today. There was one interview, and I said, before we go on, you're not going to get this job, but I want to help you get the next job. And I said it because the person needed the help. And I had sat in one of these panels once before, and the first thing that came to my mind is, I wish he would have been sitting in the audience. Because everything he did for the first 2 minutes was wrong. Not wrong because I said it was wrong because not a person in the right mind would have hired him in those first 2 minutes. And the first words out of his mouth was a bold-faced lie. And I could prove it, which I wasn't going to, just